So you're driving through Yakima, start to notice all of these little black cameras mounted on poles. You're like, I wonder who's looking at those. And you see, okay, so Yakima, Union Gap, PD, that makes sense, basically the same. And then you got some Sela, Moxie added in there, that all checks out. And then general Upper Valley, I mean, that makes sense. And I mean, by the time you incorporate some Benton, Grant County, just with drug trafficking being what it is, that, all right, Washington as a whole, even West Side, I could see people coming over the pass, Utah, okay, and some California. Just the U.S. in general is able to take a look at where you've been, but I don't see why that'd be an issue as long as there's no one like really concerning or controversial that's taking a look.
Flock safety. Let's shape a safer future together.
Flock Safety is one of the fastest growing companies in the US. This is a map that at this point is even outdated, showing the coverage of Flock. This normally wouldn't be a big deal, except that when you drive through one of these areas, your movements can be searched by all of these areas. This is accomplished by taking pictures of your vehicle, using AI to detect the license plate, and then storing any information about your movements for the past 30 days, whether you are a suspected criminal or not. This means that as long as an officer with, say, Missouri State Highway Patrol has a reason to run your plate, he can find out what jurisdictions you've been in. And it's not limited to local law enforcement. This is already accessible by federal agencies as well as third parties. Flock Safety has made commitments to the protection of your privacy and data as long as they get to do with it what they want.
Flock safety.
For comparison, other ALPRs that have already been utilized for years typically take a picture of your plate, check it against a hot list of bad guys,
Step forward.
notify the police if you're nasty, and delete it if you're not. These are certainly not without their faults, but for the most part, privacy enthusiasts are unconcerned with this usage as it is designed solely to detect the guilty, not surveil the innocent. Enter Flock Safety.
Flock safety.
Flock Safety doesn't just take down your plate and notify the police if you're bad, they keep that plate and location information in their system for a month, if not more. They continue to do that at every Flock camera you pass, essentially creating a trail of your movements. Then, it puts all of that into a searchable database able to be used by any law enforcement who has Flock access, which currently is over 1,800 agencies in the US, and all they need to access that information is a law enforcement reason. Consider, for instance, this user with Yakima PD, who over a 4-week period had 42 searches, 39 of which were for wanted fugitive. I'm not a part of Yakima PD, and it's possible that this is genuine, but this looks to me like made-up data entry. Or this other officer who had 17 wanted person searches and 1 criminal traffic in a month. These systems are audited by the PD, but internal auditing often only happens after an abuse has already occurred, as seen here.
New information tonight is a Keachai police lieutenant accused of tracking his estranged wife through the Wichita Police Department's license plate reader system. Police arrested him, and he's no longer a Keachai officer.
Per WPD policy, officers should only use the Flock system to aid in investigations. But that's only WPD policy. It's not a state law.
I received a phone call from another officer who was concerned that there was a misuse of the Flock system. I looked at the network audit. I found that, sure enough, the individual who worked for the Keachai Police Department looked up some things that he shouldn't have been looking at.
Flock safety.
Even in Prosser, we have had in recent memory the instance of Shane Hellier, who was fired for alleged sexual misconduct and admitted to looking up personal phone numbers in the police database in violation of department policy. Not just that, but former Chief Giles wrote in his internal investigation that Hellier violated a slew of department rules, including immoral conduct and using city equipment for personal use. There's also an active Prosser officer who had received multiple Fourth Amendment complaints at his previous agency and during counseling stated, "Interacting with the public can put police officers in positions with citizens who feel as though their Fourth Amendment rights have been violated." From a 1984 perspective, this can easily be viewed as a big brother crime deterrent. Don't commit a crime because if you do, we can find you because we already know what you've been doing. This goes against the American principle of innocent until proven guilty, all based on the supposition that we can do what we want because you went outside. Now, granted, it is absolutely legal for a police officer to follow you around for as long as he likes, so that's what we're getting. A permanent cop following each of us, recording where we go, and sharing it with the federal government. 100% legal. What we get to decide is if this is something we want to live with in our community. Now, Flock Safety says this is nothing to worry about because our local police department owns the data from the cameras and can't sell any of our data to third parties. However, they do have full unlimited license to the data we generate and can share it with any law enforcement, government officials, or third parties if they have a good faith belief that such disclosure is necessary to protect Flock, its users, a third party, or the public as required or permitted by law. In other words, they can do what they want.
Flock Safety.
To help prevent further privacy abuse, Flock Safety only stores this data for 30 days.
Hey, relax, guy. I'm gonna keep my side of the bargain.
I'm still waiting on receipt of the contract signed by the city of Prosser, but this is from the contract with Des Moines. Flock may store deleted footage in order to comply with certain legal obligations, but such retained footage will not be retrievable without a valid court order.
It's called suspicious.
This again provides no protections because, as we learned from Edward Snowden, the federal government has for years used secret courts in order to grant court orders allowing surveillance of Americans by big tech, making the illegal legal. Now, before you start making fun of my shiny hat, the transparency documents from Yakima PD shows external access is plainly given to the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and the FBI. By the way, this is not the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. This is the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. What's more, a commonly adopted internal policy for ALPRs present in Yakima, Richland, and many other agencies states that these cameras may also be used to gather information related to homeland security and electronic surveillance. I would prefer to live in a town where the Alphabet Boys don't have unfettered access to know where I go to church, which establishments I frequent, or really anything about my movements. I'm sure some are thinking,
we're already being tracked anyway by our cell phones.
True, but at least we have the option to not get a phone or to stop carrying one without being tracked by big tech or the government. This removes that option. The ACLU has multiple pages and documents criticizing the policies of Flock Safety, including an entire page titled, How to Pump the Brakes on Your Police Department's Use of Flock's Mass Surveillance License Plate Readers. I recommend reading it. I am not an advocate for going soft on crime, I am not anti-police or anti-Prosser PD, but this system is powerful.
Great power.
Giving this much unchecked power to government agencies doesn't usually end up well. If a system like this were to be adopted, it should come with prior community involvement, rigorous safeguards and limitations, and should not be Flock Safety. But fortunately, the city already addressed potential privacy concerns when they voted on this in November.
But I can see the civil liberties problem.
Right. That's where Flock's got it nailed, is they don't take a picture of the inside of the car, they don't take a picture of the windshield.
This is, of course, after they discussed the possibility of integrating doorbell cameras into the Flock system. Unfortunately, the privacy concerns are not the worst thing I've found out about this company, but I'll be tackling this in bite-sized chunks.
Flock Safety.